Hello and welcome to Hodge-Cast. What is your challenge? I'm your host, Daniel Hodges. I'm someone who's faced one or two challenges in life, and my lived experiences are the catalyst for this show, where each episode I interview guests who chat about a time in their life with life stories and times they've overcome adversity. Before we start, if you're enjoying the show, can I please ask a huge favour, if you haven't already done so? Can you please hit that subscribe button? It grows the show more than I can do justice. And with a bigger show, we get a larger platform that can attract better guests with more inspiring stories for you all to enjoy. It literally takes 2 seconds, is completely free of charge to do, and enhances our profile massively. Thank you, and enjoy the show. Welcome back to the Hodge-Cast podcast. Bit of a different one today. We're not doing a life stories. We're going to be doing a little bit of a boxing predictions. And I'm in good company for it, because we're joined by... We'll start off with Mr. Rob Beech, former pro boxer, MMA fighter, and sat next to him is you may have seen him in a few Hollywood movies, Snapped in particular, as Gorgeous George, Adam Fogerty. So thanks for joining us today, lads.
No problem, Magic.
First, obviously, I've just done a few intros there for you, but we'll start with you, Rob. Tell us who you are and sort of like what boxing is to you.
Rob Beech. I started boxing at 15, then I turned professional at 26. I had 6 professional fights, still unbeaten, but not. I never went to a really good level, so you expect me to be unbeaten. It's still decent. Fought Tyson Fury in the amateurs, and that's why we're here.
Yeah, we'll get on to that shortly. Fogger, do you want to do a little bit of an intro as to yourself?
Yeah.
Your boxing background?
Adam Fogerty, professional boxer. I had 19 pro fights. Our highest ranking were 3rd in England, 5th in Europe, with Terry Lawless and Mickey Duff managing and promoting me. Ex-rugby league player and actor.
Yeah, no, perfect. Okay, lads, so what we'll start, obviously we're here to talk about the upcoming Tyson Fury, Oleksandr Usyk fight, but I want to know, how does because obviously you're both heavyweight boxers, how does the heavyweight sort of boxing compare to when you guys did it in terms of who we've got, the current roster, the current talent? I'll start with you on that one, Rob.
It's a really exciting division at the moment. It's like the marquee, isn't it? You've got people from Saudi and they're just throwing money at it, and it's great to watch. You're making fights that have never been able to be watched, and it's great for the fans. You've got a few different boxers in there that are like freaks. You've got your Zhang, you've got your Wilder with explosive power. Fury, they're a lot bigger now, and they're more powerful than they ever was. So very exciting to watch. Really good division.
You mentioned earlier the Saudi involvement as well. I think that's because there's been a lot of times where we're not getting the fan services and getting the fights that we want to see. So you mentioned we've got the Zhang and Wilder coming up as well.
You're taking the boxers arguing, because there used to be a purse. So say a purse was £100 million, you'd have like Fury saying, well, I'm 70-30 because I'm the big draw. Well, that's all gone now, because the Turki Alalshikh will just approach the boxer, right, what were you fighting for? And then that's the money. And then he approaches the other boxer, well, what are you willing to fight for? And then the fight's on, which it would never be happening. There's too much arguing amongst each other, and that's gone.
Yeah, it's surprising how a few quid makes a difference to everyone.
Money talks, as he said. What about yourself, Foggy? Because also we'll have to mention this most definitely. You've got a victory against Fighting Man, John Fury, on your record, haven't you?
Yeah,
so,
Big John. Yeah.
How was that fight? You know, John, is he all bite no bite sort of?
No, it's a tough nut. You know, I mean, we're old men now. It was John's first professional fight and my second pro fight, and we fought in Halifax at the local leisure centre, and John brought a big fan base with him, you know, a lot of gypsies, and it were exciting, you know, at the time. I hit John in the 3rd round, I think it was, with the right hand, and I caught him a beaut, and he went down, and I sort of got to the corner, neutral corner, as quick as I could, so the referee could start counting, and by the time I'd turned round, John were back up and prowling, trying to get back at me. And I thought, you're taking this a bit too serious, John. You know, you could have stayed down there and no one had questioned it. But yeah, I became friendly with John afterwards. You know, we did a bit of sparring together, and you know, obviously the family and his lads, they've gone on to great things. So it's it's a nice name now, because John's a celebrity in himself, isn't he, in the boxing world. It's a nice one to have on your boxing record.
Oh yeah, most definitely. So obviously, I don't think how up to speed you are, but there's been a few, because obviously John goes on record to say I'll fight any man alive sort of thing, but he's had a few call-outs now, so most notably Mickey Theo, and then most recent one Joe Egan, but there doesn't seem to be whetting his appetite, or he's not commenting on it much. Do you think that's because people are telling him not to, or is it maybe...
No, I mean, he's a clever man away from it, John. It's all right shouting and bawling. Someone's going to call you out, aren't they? Everyone's after a payday. I mean, I'm friends with Big Joe. Me and Joe spent a lot of time in New York sparring with Mitch Green, Mad Mitch Green, in Gleason's gym. So, I mean, to be fair to all three, well, to be fair to the two lads that are calling him out, they're after a payday. You can't knock them for that. John, you know, I think he gets too excited. He, you know, when he's round his lads and at the big events sort of thing, and he's an ex-showman, isn't he, and bare-knuckle boxer, and I think, you know, but you can only shout for so long, can't you, before you have to stand up and, you know, defend what you're shouting about.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, he does get a bit giddy in those press conferences, doesn't he? Rob, obviously, you know, Foggy's got a win against Tyson Fury's dad.
I've got a loss against Tyson Fury.
I wasn't going to put it as that.
Well, it's, you know, we don't lose, we learn.
Tell us what it was like getting in with Tyson, like from what you remember.
Well, it was in the northwest of the ABA, so we'd fought the regionals, then the Merseysides and West Lancs, and then Tyson was actually there at my fight before I fought Tyson, but I didn't know he was, but you couldn't miss him. He's like, you know, 7 foot at his time. He's more of a beanpole back then because he was only 18, but he was still like 18 stone with this big curly wog on him with, you know, like a centre parting, proper traveller look, you know, and he was with a load of them. I did notice him, and to be fair, I won that fight quite easily. I hit the lad and he went across the ring, and I thought, oh well, and then I found out that was Tyson Fury, and I thought, he's not going to want to know this, because it was probably one of the best punches I've ever done in my career. And the next time we was weighing in, and his coach come into my weigh-in and went, you probably want to pull your lad out when he sees Tyson. And my coach went, you don't know my lad, so he's going to be fighting. And then when we walked over I always remember walking to the centre of the ring, and I just thought, I'm not even going to look up to you. You're just that tall. I just tapped the gloves, went to my other corner, and we had a good fight, but you just can't get near him. He uses his advantages. He leans, when you back him up to the ropes, he brings you onto shots, and then when you back him up to the ropes, which I was doing, he'll just lean on you and shut you down. The referee breaks it and it starts again, and he knows his advantages, and he's just good, he's fast.
He's one of those athletes where on paper looking at him, he shouldn't be able to do half the stuff he does, but he does it, proves everyone wrong. You had a little, we'd be a disservice if we don't mention this, Rob, but you had a little bit of a run-in with Tyson, didn't you?
I think you caused that.
Well, I'll tell the story.
Go on.
You can interject if you want. So, fighting man, John Fury's got a book out, so me and Rob went to the Trafford Centre.
Yeah. Something to
Trafford Centre, and don't know why we were there, to be honest with you, but we popped in the bookstore to see John get it signed, and John came with his entourage as he does. Tommy was there, one end, obviously Tyson was there, but he was causing a bit of a ruckus. So Tyson said to John, we're going Nando's, we're leaving here, and as Tyson's walking out, I seen Rob, he was in front of me in the queue, sort of edging his way over, and trying to get Tyson's attention, and he said, Tyson, you won't remember me, will you? Go on. I think you could tell Tyson recognised you, but couldn't quite pinpoint. He said,
I never said that you won't remember. I said, now then, how are you doing? And he went, who are you? I should remember you.
Oh, well,
come on, I didn't go, are you, mate? It wasn't fun. Yeah, but you're making me out as well. Like, can he have your autograph?
You didn't know if we get a book signed by John. Anyway, so Tyson then, penny dropped, he recognised who he was, and he said, oh yeah, you went into MMA, didn't you? Rob was going, yeah, I went into MMA. And he said, what are you now, about 20 stone? Rob's immediate reaction was, don't you fat shame me, Tyson. And then Tyson, quite as he does, lifted his belly out, tapped his belly, said, I won't swear, because obviously we're on a podcast here, but he said, I was a fat when I beat you, and I'm a fat cunt now. And yeah, made for a few laughs.
We both had our we both nearly had our tops off in what was it, Waterstones, comparing bodies. Everyone's like, what the hell are these two up to?
So yeah, so a little bit of a funny story there. But moving back onto the heavyweight division now. So obviously, would you guys say that Oleksandr Usyk, Tyson Fury, is that the fight to determine who's the best? I know they're getting all the belts, but I'll tell you what, I'll phrase it better. Fogger, we'll start with you, mate. Who would you say your top 5, in no particular order, in the heavyweight division?
Oh, you'd have to have Tyson and Usyk, wouldn't you? 1 and 2. And Parker, 3, after his 2 recent wins, obviously, over Zhang and the other fella, the big fella. So I'd say them 2. And 5th place, I don't know. You know, them others seem to be the top 4 for me. You know, because you could pick anyone in 5, you could put that Zhang in, or I don't know, you know. It's, what is it? They're all 1 punch away from being number 1, aren't they?
Yeah.
Really, you know, in the heavyweight division. So, yeah, I'd say it's got to be the biggest fight out there, you know, because who else would you know, if you could swap one of them out and put someone else in, who else would you put in? You wouldn't, you know. I think it's going to be an exciting fight. And, you know, what else do you say? I'm looking forward to watching it.
Yeah, no, likewise. Would you say, we'll come to you in a sec for your top 5, Rob, but would you say that, what would you think is the bigger draw, this fight or Fury, Joshua?
I think, you know, there's not a lot between it now after Joshua's, obviously Joshua, you'd have to put Joshua in at number 2, at 3, sorry, that, I forgot about Joshua. They're all, I think, the same, because after Joshua's recent wins and the way he finished off the MMA fighter, you know, he's back on top form. Like he says, fighting regular helps him out a lot. So, yeah, you'd have to, for me, there's not a lot in it, you know.
Exactly. Robert, so yourself, pal,
Top 5, yeah, Joshua, you mentioned him then. That's something that, you know, I would rather watch that fight. Let's be honest, I would, because you know there's going to be fireworks. With this fight, it's going to be a fight for the boxing purist. It's not going to be for the fans, I don't think. I think it's going to be a chess match. I don't know if it will light up. The only way it's going to light up is if, you know, Usyk's fight starts fast, and he's not got an history of that, so I really don't know. My top 5, Joshua 3rd, Parker 4th. I believe Parker's, I don't know.
He's come on leaps, hasn't he?
I think he's... My old coach said to me boxing was 99% mental, and I think it is, and I think that he has got the mindset now to really do things. I could see him doing Usyk over, to be honest. I think I can see him giving Usyk a real nightmare. He's as quick as Usyk. You know, and he's got the intelligence as well.
I mean, he gets the kudos from me, Parker, because he's gone in there back-to-back fights with arguably the 2 biggest hitters.
Yeah, you've got to give him
Wilder, no hesitation.
Yeah.
I think everyone ruled him out for that, myself included. I thought if he gets caught by Wilder, and he just schooled him, put it quite frankly. Yes, maybe the best version of Wilder didn't.
I think Wilder's been quite lucky a few times.
Yeah,
you know,
would you
I mean,
say one trick pony?
Yeah, he's got a big bang, and if he can't land it, you know, he's not as devastating, is he? You know what I mean? He nearly got stopped a couple of times before Parker.
It's a case of when people bully the bully with him, he don't like it. No. He can't perform backed up. Can't do it.
Can't remember the fighter's name, but if he'd have been a bit fitter...
Was it Ortiz?
Ortiz.
Yeah, Ortiz. Yeah. He's about 50 odd and still fighting, so he's 40.
And he was schooling him, weren't he?
Yeah, and then he just
but he just
got
didn't
out
have
of jail.
the fitness to carry it on, and he'd pulled his
get out
one
of jail
punch.
card.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. It only takes that one punch, doesn't it? I think that's what's been in Wilder's favour for a while, but obviously it didn't work against Fury, did it? Remember that first fight in the 12th round? I think everyone ruled it out.
Oh,
and he got up.
He looked like the Undertaker off WWF, didn't he? Getting up.
We'll touch on sort of this progressing forward, but obviously being 2 guys who've lived and breathed the sport of boxing, what's your honest opinion on this whole influencer, like the likes of Jake Paul, and I dare say even the MMA guys crossing over, like with Nganou recently, which we'll touch on a little bit later on. What's your thoughts on it? We'll start with you on that one, Rob.
There's a 50-50 split in my head. It's good for boxing because it's bringing kids who've never really looked at boxing into the sport, so it's breathing new light into it. But then it's also degrading it as well, because you've got people like Jake Paul, and they're like leapfrogging guys who've, like myself, small hall shows, getting paid £1,000, 1,500 quid, having to sell tickets. We're all getting leapfrogged by someone who's put podcasts and been an influencer all their life, and it's, you know, they're getting paid millions of pounds, and it's, you know, it's not really that on that side of it. Probably I'm a bit bitter. I want a bit of it.
Yeah, that's it. It's the classic case of you're on the outside looking in, not the inside looking out. You're happy.
It's an hard way to make a living being a boxer.
It is.
It really is. Unless you you've got Olympic pedigree and you've got like Eddie Hearn backing you. Like Joshua was on, I think he was in stadium fights like from the off, and it's like he's making good money. It's like it's really hard to break into the big time boxing if you've not got an Olympic gold medal.
You know, looking at it, my view on it is you can't beat the business model. It makes money, but I don't like it. You know, I think someone will get hurt, like the last fight, the punch that he got caught with.
That was shocking. That,
you know, real.
It knocked me sick. That it's the only time I've ever felt sorry for someone in a boxing ring. That, you know, that's the only time.
If something had gone wrong there, thank God the fella got up and it seems okay. But if something had gone wrong, then they've got to start looking at people and asking questions. How have you allowed him to get in there? He's a tough man, you know, and he'll beat you in a octagon, but he's not got that great boxing ability.
No, and he's in there with one of them. I know we have that fight with Fury.
You've got a two-time world champion there who you just put him in with. He's just leapfrogged in his second fight to that, and he's you know, Olympic gold medalist. And the guy is a killer. Joshua is a killer. One punch KO. He's probably, I would say, he's probably one of the most devastating punches in the division. I reckon he does it as hard as Wilder.
You reckon,
yeah, I do. I think he definitely.
It's the heavyweights, isn't it? You know what I mean? I mean, Wilder's probably sharper, faster.
Yeah.
You know, Beech in the game. It don't have to be power that knocks you out. It's the ones you don't see coming.
Yeah.
You know,
definitely.
so if you've got half a dig and you're sharp, you can knock anyone out.
Yeah.
But my point is, this kid they put in is good at his field. Do you know what I mean? And if he hadn't have got up, and if it had been really severely hurt, everyone would be looking for the backdoor exit sort of thing, you know, because he should never have really been in there. He did well against Tyson, but I think that was Tyson's fault. Tyson talked a good show on that one, saying, I'm fit, I've trained hard, I won't, you know.
The scales don't lie.
Yeah, you know, but like you say, the scales don't lie. And he was totally off key, you know, and I think Tyson, like, you know, now, obviously he's been training hard. You can see looking at him, he's slimming down. He knows he's got to for Usyk. So, but, no, the fella should have never been in there. And the other side, it's like the Tyson-Paul fight. For me, it's a disgrace. I don't know how Paul can hold his head up, you know, because at the end of the day, you're fighting a legend of a sport who's now a 60-year-old man who probably can't do a full 3-minute round. It's all right putting all these little clips of him hitting bags, you know, and pads fast, but that's a split second or a minute in time, not a 10-round fight. So you don't win either way. Yeah, you might make some money out of it, Paul, you know, but if you win, you get slated because he's an old man and he's a legend, and you've beat an old man up, well done, sort of thing. If you lose, which I hope he does, you know, great.
You've beat off an old man, haven't you?
But if Tyson hurts him, if Tyson catches him with a shot and hurts him, then all of a sudden...
I know, I sort of sounds sort of circular or anything here, but I'd love that to happen. Just purely. I was hoping when he got in there with Sonny Fury, Jake Paul, that'd be the end of this now, because he lost to him. But he seems to have gained momentum off it. I mean, he's now in there with bloody Mike Tyson.
He's fighting picked opponents, isn't he? If you look at his last opponents, one of them was a taxi driver who'd not had a fight for 7 years, although he had a good record. Good. You know, it's like me my last boxing match was 7 years ago, and if I've got a 6-0 record, so on paper I look great. Just put me in against one of these upstarts like Joshua in his first 1 or 2 fights. That looks good on paper, but I've not been in there, I've not been doing it, so I'm going to get wiped out.
And I don't think the audience isn't a boxing audience or a fight audience. It's a lot of, from what I can see, kids or, you know, fans of these bloggers online. Bloggers, which, okay. But I just think you should have more respect for yourself than to be with people like Tyson. You should have more respect for yourself. And
it's not like he's short of a few quid, is it? You know, why does he need to do it?
I don't get that myself, because it is a case of, you know, Mike Tyson, all right, I know he had his history with financial issues with Don King or what have you, but he's a household name, he's a legend of the sport. Some would back him the greatest of all time. Obviously that's subject to opinion, or he's certainly up there with one of the greats. And it's just, it's a bit of a circus really, seeing this type of fights happening. Okay lads, so we touched on Usyk Fury being the biggest fight we possibly have. It's going to be, I think it was 99, wasn't it, when Lennox Lewis beat Evander Holyfield. We've not had a unified champion for 20 plus years.
Touching on that, you know, it's the basis for this fight, isn't it? It's when a good little one goes up against a big big. And it never really comes off, does it? You had the same with Riddick Bowe when he come up against Bowe. You had the same with Hay when he went to Klitschko. So that.
I thought Holyfield were unlucky because that was the one where the parachutist ended up in the ring.
That's a classic. So you just couldn't write that.
He's sort of wearing him down a little bit. Then all of a sudden they both got like 20 minutes to untangle the parachutist.
Yeah, that was a real classic.
So would you guys obviously being natural heavyweights, would you say it doesn't necessarily work all the time, a cruiserweight going up? Like we touched on there with Holyfield and Usyk's now doing.
I think at world class level, when both fighters are world class, then you've got just the basics of the good big and against a good little, and the size. You have weight divisions for a reason, and then, you know, it does tell. Unfortunately, I mean, like we'll go back to the Mike Tyson debate, though. Well, then, haven't you?
Yeah. You know, small heavyweight, really, Tyson, weren't he?
And then he uses that
speed. Speed, they say, the biggest hit. I don't think he was the biggest hitter, Tyson. He just hit him and they didn't see it coming, and he'd catch him with 3 or 4 shots. You know, in that you don't. I mean, it was obviously a powerful man.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't think he's the biggest hitter of all time.
No.
I think with obviously we touched on the Saudi involvement earlier on, which is now making these big fights happen. But there's been a lot of build-up towards this, trying to get this fight off the ground. So obviously this fight was announced whilst Fury was pending his fight with Francis Ngannou, the crossover fight, and they announced this fight on the build-up to that. Obviously the fight was supposed to happen last December, and then it got put back because obviously Fury, you know, was a bit, I think he sort of undersold himself, didn't train properly for Nganou, and then it was put back to March, wasn't it, this year it was supposed to happen, and then obviously there was the cut, the infamous cut, and then it got put back again. I mean, in terms of facts,
just to stop you, didn't it get put back once on Usyk's behalf because he got fed up with Tyson? He upset him by saying you're only getting 30% or something.
Even further.
I think he pulled out once.
Then we go back to the big purse debate, then, don't we? He was arguing over who gets what. Now we're not doing that no more.
Do you know, I don't know if anyone else, but I'm bored with it all. I just want to see the fight now.
Exactly,
Do you know what I mean? I don't want to listen. I don't want to listen to Tyson shouting and bawling or calling him a sausage or whatever. You know, I just want to see the fight now. It's time. It's
been. I mean, when there was that cut, and I do believe the cut was legitimate. I know there's all these conspiracies online, this, that, and the other, but I was so off because it was like, again, there's further delays with this fight, and obviously I'm a massive Fury fan, and I personally think he'll, you know, jumping ahead a bit here, but I do think he'll win the fight personally. Maybe it's a bit of bias on my part, who knows, but I want him to just do it, you know, and he is, as a Fury fan, it is getting a bit monotonous, all the stuff and the clout and the stuff he's doing online, and now I just want to see him. I've always gone on record to say that Wilder Fury 2 fight, if that version of Tyson Fury turns up, he beats anyone in that heavyweight division, in my humble opinion. Okay, you could argue Wilder's maybe not the most technical boxer.
People, sorry for interrupting, people forget about his performance against Klitschko. He gave him a boxing lesson. Yeah. He went to his own backyard against someone who's reigned for many, many years and gave him a boxing lesson. That, to me, was his best performance.
There's no doubt he's a great boxer. He's got a great talent in boxing. But Klitschko went for him. If Usyk don't go for him and he has to come the other way, it could be a different.
He managed to do what he normally does and played the mind games. Yeah. So he boxed out of anger rather than.
If fighters are coming towards him,
he won't do that with Usyk.
No, if fighters are coming towards him to try and stop him, he's got everything.
Yeah.
You know, it might be a different Marcus Usyk's a different fighter, very clever fighter. if it turns into a boxing match, yeah, a good big un beats a good little un, but I don't think he's a good little un, Usyk. When you talk about heavyweights, Muhammad Ali were 13.5, 14 stone. Do you know what I mean? Like you say, cruiserweight, I don't know what Usyk's going to step into the ring at weight,
he should be 16
but he's not
stone,
small, is he?
No, he's not. We're not a good.
6'3".
He's not a good. He's not a good little one. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that because he isn't. He is a normal sized heavyweight.
He is a little compared to Tyson, yeah.
But compared to Tyson, Tyson's a freak. He's a giant, isn't he? And that can move like a middleweight as well when he wants to.
And he looks like he's got himself in shape now, Tyson.
I think he's a career lightest. I really do. Because I've never seen him as
he looks like
sharp.
he looks like you touched on there. Obviously, I mentioned the Wilder 2 fight, and then you're quite right, Rob, the Klitschko fight as well. When you see Tyson, when he's stripped down and he's lost all the fat around his face and what have you, you know that you're in for a good show with him. I think it'd be fair to say, and we'll touch on this now, that Francis Ngannou fight, and obviously you two who've lived and breathed the sport, I don't think he turned up. I think he thought...
No, and do you know what I always think with it when I've watched it back? I think for the first time the occasion got to him.
Yeah.
Because every fighter that Tyson probably from being a kid admired and looked up to was sat ringside or sat walking down, you know, Larry Holmes, Roberto, all these huge names, and Tyson's there as the chief, you know, the top of the pile now. He turned up and he weren't fit.
No.
We know that. Like you said, the scales don't lie. But the occasion, I think, once he got a little clip, I think first or second round, he were miles off, weren't he? I mean, he weren't missing the punch by inches. He were missing like by that, weren't he?
Yeah,
and I don't know, I just think for some reason, all them people being there in the big event, and it might sound crazy because he's been in big events before.
I think he really took it to heart, the actual word exhibition. I thought he believed that it was going to be a joke because he was getting on quite nicely before the fight.
Yeah, all that tickling bellies and
it was
stuff
all
like that.
It was all fine. But then, if you watch the fight and watch it again, if you ever watch the start of it, he says to Nganou, and I remember watching Ngannou's interview afterwards. He said, "I'm going to take you to school now, boy." And Nganou says, "You're not taking me nowhere." And Nganou put it on him.
I think people got to remember as well, yes, it's different sorts of sports, but it's the same discipline. Nganou, Rob, you'll probably correct me on this, am I right in saying he's undefeated in MMA?
No, he's not. And like, records are for DJs, as they say, you know, because in MMA, no one really builds on, like, you know, they do, obviously, he's got a winning record and heavily in his favour, like a 90% win streak, but he has lost, and that's it.
Well, I thought he was undefeated, so apologies on that one, not on my research. But what I suppose the point I was getting to was it's the same discipline. So Francis Ngannou came into that fight and he had everything to prove.
Yeah.
And I think Fury just, like this quite rightly, Rob quote again, the other scales don't lie. It was a case of, I think Fury just thought it was going to be a walkout, and the proof's in the pudding because they announced the Usyk Fury fight as this fight was pending. So they were clearly, Fury was looking further ahead for this Usyk fight.
Was he though, or was he thinking that they were just going to have a bit of a tip-tap, get paid and go home? That's what I
think he definitely underestimated his ability. He was better than he thought he was going to be.
I think, one thing I remember watching that, because we watched it live, didn't we? And I remember there was interviewing Tyson as he was getting his raps done, and for me, something was off. Like, he wasn't, obviously, you know, you're going to have the occasion getting to it, but I think you put it there, Foggy, where the occasion did get to him, because he just didn't look like the Tyson, you know, he wasn't the charismatic.
No, the fella turned out better than he thought. He hadn't done what he said he was going to do. He hadn't got himself fit by any means. He thought he could just turn up, play with him.
But he's been able to do that since the last Wilder fight. If you look what's happened, he's fought Chisora, easy, payday. He's fought White, payday. He's done what he wants. Yeah, and he's had homecomings, and it's all been a fun game, and you know, it's easy. And it's the best thing that's ever happened to him, this one, Nganou.
Ego's got to him a little bit, because I'm a big advocate for Fury. Obviously, I've had my own mental health struggles, and I've sort of championed Fury coming back from the dirt.
Hey, listen, I'm a fan of his. I like him. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking him.
Complacent in some capacity.
I think it's probably easy to do without realising it. It's like the famous jockey said, didn't he? It's hard to get up and run in the morning when you're sleeping in silk. you know, pyjamas. You know, and it is. I mean, the fella's
worth a few $100 million.
I mean,
And I think,
where's the motivation?
We'll backpedal a little bit with the Chisora fight. That fight didn't need to happen, did it? Let's be honest.
But it'd give Derek a retirement fund.
I get that.
And
would you say that's what it was, Rob? Do you think
it was a retirement fund for Derek. You know, he's been a good campaigner in the sport, and he's been friends with Tyson. You know, it's nice to see. But
I don't agree with you in a way, Rob. I don't think it's a retirement fund for Derek. I think Tyson thought, you know, I've already beat the fella. Yeah, we can fill Wembley. It's a good money-making event.
Yeah,
he won't be bothered if it was Chisora, White, or would he? I don't know.
Well, I mean, I went to Dillian Whyte fights, and I mean, I think it was something like over 94,000. It was a record-breaking.
Was it Tottenham that?
No, Wembley.
Wembley,
yeah. So it was a record-breaking crowd, and you noticed it. I mean, everyone there. No disrespect, love Dillian Whyte's a great boxer. He slipped a little bit lately, but everyone knows cheering for Fiore. There was no.
I'd take me out of to White. You know, I'd take me out of to White as a warrior. You know, is everything. You know, heart-wise, you want in a fighter, and the same with the other heavyweight who he's fought, Chisora. Both tough men, both get stuck in, but they're no great fighters. I don't think they'd have been around in Lewis's era.
Yeah. No.
You know what I mean? I don't think they'd have got to the. And fantastic that they've had big paydays. Great, you know, deserve it. But I don't think the standard is anywhere near the Lewis Holyfield era.
Yeah, and
there wouldn't have been a name.
And we've got to remember this about Chisora. He gave Usyk an absolute nightmare.
Well,
first,
say that. I think obviously we're praising Fury here, but you've got to admire what Usyk's accomplished as well.
Without a doubt.
So yeah, quite right there, Rob. Let's deviate to that. So everyone goes on record to say that Chisora give Usyk a lot of trouble. Would you echo that ethos?
100%. I mean, he took him into the trenches. He didn't let him dictate to the fight, which is what Usyk likes to do. If you watch what he does, he starts slow, lets you work, because he does. Because I've studied Usyk after us getting on this. We were talking about the podcast. I've always watched him because I'm a boxing fan, and he's always about a few inches off your foot. His front foot, if you watch him, is always about 2 inches off your foot, and you don't understand the pressure that puts on you as a boxer, because he's in range, but he's not in range. He makes you work, and then when you listen to the post-fight press conferences of Joshua and Bellew, they said they've never been as tired in a fight, and that's what he does. He drags you into.
Yeah, keeps the pressure on.
Yeah, he's on you.
Well, it's funny, obviously, your old pal Tony Bellew. I watched an interview, obviously doing a bit of research for this, and Tony Bellew said, because Tony went on record to say he was down in that ring. You know, he wanted to be an absolute killer. He wanted to get in there, but when he got in there with Usyk, it was the hardest. He said, I've never flagged as much in my life. And then, quite right, watching Usyk's fights, but the guy doesn't tire.
No.
That's something. He's like a Duracell bunny. He does not seem to fatigue at all.
That's a part of being a world champion. It's being able to be in the fight, but be able to relax while you're in it. Like you say about him just being a foot off him.
Yeah.
Bruno, and you'll laugh, was probably one of the fittest heavyweights that's ever walked this planet, but Frank couldn't relax. From round 1 to round 12, it was
Tense, yeah.
You watch Ali or any of the great fighters, they're relaxed while they're not working, even though they are working, like you say, he's on his front foot, he's in distance, but he's still relaxed, whereas the other fella, you've got to be able to relax with it, like Ali could and these heavyweights, and that's why they could fight for 15 rounds. And
Fury's quite relaxed, isn't he?
He is.
But like I said before, he's one of those on paper, but everything he does, he shouldn't be able to do. Like he defies physics.
You said it, Rob. You know, he leans on you, brings you in, he fights when he wants to fight.
Do you think that's going to work with Usyk? We just mentioned that Usyk doesn't tire.
No.
Fury does lean on people and put the weight and the pressure.
I don't think
any effect.
I don't think he'll let him grab him.
I don't think he'll let him get in range to do that. And that's the difference between your Chisoras and your Whites. Is Tyson could play with them, he could bring them in, he could lean on them. I think Usyk's going to box, not stand toe. He'll be stood toe to toe with him, but out of range, in range. And
I think we're talking about Usyk there as well. From his past achievements, had 335 amateur fights, only lost 15. He won the gold in the Olympics. He's two times undisputed, as in, he's undisputed cruiserweight, undisputed heavyweight. There's only 3 men other than him done that. Holyfield,
great fight.
Who
is it? Joshua couldn't do it with him.
No,
Joshua couldn't lean on him.
And I believe you realistically, obviously Tyson Fury, great heavyweight in that, but for his achievements, you're dealing with like a Messi or a Ronaldo type of league of boxer. He's next level. He's gone to everyone's back garden, and he's fought them and he's beaten them.
I do think, obviously, the champion Fury to win it. I think this is going to be an extremely tough fight for him. You do it the nail on the head, Rob, but chess match comes to mind because it's not. I don't think we're going to see a knockout in a sense that it's going to be like what we did with maybe the Fury Wilder fights. I think it's going to be raw talent against raw talent here, and I'm looking forward to it. We mentioned Joshua there, so it'd be rude to kind of not sort of sidetrack a little bit. Obviously, a lot of people, Joshua's always up for criticism, and I don't really get it. I've always thought he's a great boxer. I get he's the poster boy, and he comes across a little bit sort of, he's doing it for the wrong reasons, if you will. And some of his comments, with the whole Black Lives Matter, and obviously after his Usyk performance, that's his management team really should have stepped in there and intercepted it. But we can't not address the current form that Anthony Joshua's had. And would you say that obviously he put two last fights against obviously Nganou, he put on a far better performance than Fury did, and Otto Wallin, he gave Fury a lot of troubles. Do you think Joshua's trying to set up that Fury fight in a sense, look, at what you've just done I can do, but better, and then that's going to build it up? What's your thoughts on Joshua's current form, Fog?
Like he says himself, he's a better fighter when he's fighting regular.
Yeah.
And I think, when you get upset like, he did after Usyk beat him twice, that were a big wake-up call for him. And I take my hat off to the man because he's a wealthy man, he's, made a good career, but he's still hungry to come back and finish where he knows he thinks he can be. And,
Do you think, as I said a quote, sorry to interrupt there, do you think if Joshua has another loss now, that's going to topple any momentum he's got? The loss not coming from either a Usyk or a Fury at this stage. Like someone say he gets in, there's talks about him and Parker potentially.
Yeah, I mean for me, I don't think he's beat Parker already.
Yeah.
So I know Parker's probably a lot better now. I think any loss now with him, it'll be a sort of wake up call, wouldn't it, to how far can I go really, sort of thing, because he's come off 2 losses to Usyk, which is no disgrace. They've both been points losses. But if someone went in there, stopped him, who wasn't a big name, I just don't know where he'd get his motivation from. And if he's got, because you question yourself. And if you don't question yourself, you're a fool. If you get in there and think, I'm going to beat everyone, I'm going to just walk through them, them are the fighters that get knocked out, sort of thing. But you'd have to question yourself, wouldn't you, and how much do you really want it?
It's not that as well, he also risks damaging his legacy, doesn't he, then? Because he's just going to get...
No, this is saying about the legacy, if he gets beat by not a nobody, but someone who he shouldn't get beat by.
But if he's just going to... Then he starts becoming into someone who's winning one, losing one.
Joshua's... his first defeat was Andy Ruiz, wasn't it? Which shocked everyone. I foolishly, I'd only ever seen Ruiz fight Joseph Parker, which I think we prefer to say was quite a boring fight. But... he got in there with Joshua and put it on him, and I personally don't think the best version of Anthony Joshua turned up for that fight. No. Personally,
but he were a late replacement as well, weren't he? Not making excuses.
Baby Miller. That does knock you that when you do get a late replacement.
So, what's your take? Because you're a bit of a Joshua fan, aren't you, Rob? What's your take on his current form? Do you think he's got that killer instinct back? Do you think he's back in the mixer?
It's all a mental game with Anthony Joshua. If he gets his head right, I believe he can do Tyson Fury, I really do. Because he's frightening. He's got all the ability, he's got all the physique, the athleticism, but it's always mental with him, and that's it.
Do you know the first fight with Usyk, I knew watching Joshua walk to the ring that he wasn't in the right frame of mind. If you remember, he's stopping, he's tapping gloves with people. Yeah. He had a smile on his face. you go back and watch fighters, old fighters go into a ring. Haggler, the thing were up, weren't it?
I'm not interested.
It would just boom.
You've got to be selfish.
It's not selfish. It's you're there to do a job, Beech.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, you're just concentrated on that man in opposite corner. You're not walking around like the.
Because none of them guys are going to help you when that ring the bell goes. So
only play. I mean, obviously, nothing by comparison to you two. But
sorry, just to finish what we said. And I think, you know, at the end of that fight, when he got beat, he accepted it, sort of thing. The second time he got beat, he was ready for that fight, Joshua. In my personal view, he'd done everything right, and he couldn't handle the fact that he knew he'd done everything, which must be hard. You know, I admire all of them. Don't get me wrong, but it must be hard when you know you've done everything you can possibly do, and you've been beat, and that's when he went into meltdown on the second one. You know, but he's come back from that, which shows a great strength and a great hunger. Because
do you think, because there was a lot of talk, obviously as British, you know, boxing fans and what have you, everyone wants to see I'm not discrediting Oleksandr Usyk, but everyone wants to see Fury, Joshua, and it lost a bit of momentum because it was supposed to happen before the Wilder fight. Fury had some contracts and politics involved with that. He had to get in there again, which no one wanted to see, but ended up arguably being the best fight of the trilogy because it was just an absolute scrap. But yeah, going back to Joshua Fury, I think it lost momentum with Ruiz. He obviously got his heat back when he beat him, and then it lost momentum again when Joshua lost to Usyk twice. Do you think now, on the trajectory, if I'm saying that right, that that's gaining the momentum again now?
Well, there's talk of step aside money after this fight. That's bearing in mind that Tyson Fury wins, because no one's going to really want to see Joshua versus Usyk.
Because for me, I've looked at it like this: if Fury wins, the step aside money, I think the Saudis will do that. Yeah, but if Fury loses, I still think it's going to wet some palates.
But how much step aside?
They both lost to Usyk now, so who's coming in third place, second place, sort of thing.
So the money is rumoured to be £75 million. So how much step aside money are they going to offer Usyk? Because I'm not being funny, they're not going to give him £75 million.
Do you know the thing is, Usyk's multi-millionaire.
So why would he do it? Would he not want another rematch with Tyson?
Yeah, of course he would.
Yeah.
It's not about the money.
Yeah.
If it were about the money, they'd have all retired a long time ago, wouldn't they? It's about that career-ending sort of finishing it he wants to.
Yeah.
If he gets beat by Tyson this time, I will put my house on it that he won't take step-aside money. No. Depending how he gets beat.
Yeah.
Because he'll want the rematch.
Yeah. He's got probably the ability. And Tyson Fury has got the ability to be an heavyweight, but he's got one of the abilities to be one of the greatest of all times. Usyk, with his you know, his everything he's done in his past.
The other side to it is he wants to fight. He wants to fight with Fury because he was willing to take 30%. It weren't about the 50-50 split. He gave Tyson everything he wanted in the contract.
And I don't believe Tyson Fury wanted it at that time.
No,
I think now...
He brought him backpedal because he did the little politics with Joshua, didn't he, off the back of his loss to Usyk, called him out, and then that never materialised.
Well, he knew it wasn't going to come up because it wasn't right for Joshua at the time. He'd have probably wiped Joshua out, even though physically he's the same person, Joshua. Mentally, he wasn't the same person back then. It was the right time for Tyson. He was picking the right fight for him at the time.
He's a great promoter of his fights, is Tyson. And, you know, I mean, he's built himself up to be people talking about him as the greatest heavyweight. Yeah, it might be in his generation. But he's not nowhere near the greatest heavyweight of all time.
I think he'd have a nightmare
when you look at his record, who is his record?
Yeah.
The what they call it when he won the title.
Klitschko. When he was on the slide, wasn't he?
On the slide, coming to the end of his career. A great win for him. And then the rest of his people he's fought and beat. Who are they really? What they call it, White. Who else we said?
Chisora.
Was a one-trick pony as well.
Wilder. Loads of bottle to go in there.
My opinion, by Parker the other month.
You know, it were a big thing for Tyson to go in with Wilder because he was coming back off. You know, I admire them all. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking them.
Oh yeah.
But when you really basic look at it, it's not been a great era for heavyweight.
You can't say now that obviously Wilder's no good because Parker beat him, because who's Wilder now after 3 bad defeats off Tyson? He might be a different person. And like I said, the saying goes, style make fight. I believe that Parker will beat Usyk, and that's just me. But then I believe Joshua would beat Parker, but I don't believe Usyk would beat. I don't believe Joshua would beat Usyk again because I believe he's got his number. Styles make fights.
And I think, if I remember rightly, Tyson pulled out of the fight with Joshua. He gave him something silly like 3 weeks, didn't he? Or a week to answer the deadline, and he didn't answer it, and that's it, then it's off, which ain't business sense, is it? If you want a fight with someone like Joshua and that, and you want to, get it out, what's a week or 2 weeks? It's not. He used that, I think, as an excuse not to go through with the fight back then. Yeah, and
for the previous Usyk negotiations, before the Saudis got involved, I don't believe the reward was there. So the risk was too high in Tyson, so he didn't fancy that. He talked his way out of that in a way. Listen, I love Tyson Fury. He's my favourite ever. So don't. But he's a businessman as well, and now the reward outweighs the risk, so he's having it.
I'm saying the bottom line. I have nothing but respect for the fella. But after watching the show as well that they've done behind the scenes with the Furies, he is the sort of fella who gets up one morning, he'll fight anyone, isn't he?
Yeah.
And the next morning he'll get up and he just wants to go.
To tip, doesn't
he? To tip or he's highs and lows, isn't he? Yeah. Not so much character. He has, like you say, he's got some sort of mental illness.
He says he's got bipolar.
Bipolar, like he's flying out somewhere to organise a fight with someone, and he's taking his dad, and an hour later his dad's not going, and he's not. It's sort of. It must be hard to manage.
Then did you see that one where he just decided, right, we're going camping with kids and took out kids? He was in school though. And Paris, his missus, going mad.
But he does have this scene, like you say, the bipolar or something.
Spontaneous.
It's highs and lows, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And I do worry for him when he packs in boxing, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, like he says himself, he tried and he can't.
But where does that leave him?
After the Dillian Whyte fight, he did go on record to say he's going to retire, and then next thing you know, he's fighting Derek Chisora.
And that's what I'm sort of getting at when I say the highs and lows, the bipolar. 1 minute he's going to fight forever, the next day or the next hour is in a total different mindset when you're watching that programme, and he's never going in a boxing ring again.
Well, there's rumours of him having 10 fights. Now he's attempting, his wording was that Turki Alalshikh and him have put a package together where he's potentially going to be the first boxing billionaire.
But that's the problem with Tyson, isn't it? 1 minute it's not about the money, next minute it's all about the money.
It's a massive, I mean, as a fan, I love the guy to bits.
I'm saying, I want to state every one of these fighters we're talking about, I have nothing but admiration from. Don't think, I was never a great fighter. Like, I was up there third in England, fifth in Europe. So what right have I to talk about any of these fighters? But it's just my opinion. Yeah. But I've nothing but respect for all of them.
Yeah, anyone who gets in there, definitely.
Just saying off camera then, Adam, about the low blow, the controversial low blow with Usyk. It was Daniel Dubois who he was in with. What was your take on that, first and foremost?
I thought it was unlucky, Dubois. Because personally, if it hadn't been Usyk, if that had just been two unknown fighters fighting, it wouldn't have been called a low blow.
No.
He'd have lost.
You thought it was a legitimate shot?
Yeah, waistband.
It was in Poland with all his own fans. And
so do you think Dubai was robbed there? He should have come away from it?
Listen, like I said, I've had a look at Usyk, and I know for a fact he got put over in the amateurs by another unified champion who's a light heavyweight mastermind at the moment, Artur Bertiev. Is it Bertiev? Bertiev. He got stopped in the amateurs off that guy. So he has got problems with his stomach. Not so his stomach, his body, whether it's conditioning or he's just got a weak spot.
I mean, do you think that's potentially because he's a natural cruiserweight, he's a lighter man?
No,
and do you think it's really not absorbing?
He was at light heavyweight when he fought Berbatov. So
I don't think he's got any problem personally with his training or his stomach. Anyone who gets caught when you're not ready for it with a body shot, you can have the best muscles in the world. You know what I mean? If you just get that split second when you're not ready for it, it destroys. Destroys you.
No comparison to you two, but those body shots just hit different, don't they? I mean, I got caught with one of them sparring for a white collar. I couldn't breathe. I thought everything was just cramping up. And you know why boxers fall, because there's always a delay, isn't there, before the lactic acid builds up. So I got caught with it, and then I walked a little bit, and then I just collapsed. I couldn't. It was like
it paralyses you.
Some people have different cause, and you can say, it was when you get caught or whatever, but I do believe some people are more susceptible to headshots, some people are more susceptible to body shots. That's it, so...
I agree with you, yeah. I agree as well on that.
Have you had a fair few body shots over the years, like, painful or...?
Yeah. If you get caught and you're not ready for it, it's like I've always said, I'm saying to Beech, it doesn't have to be the hardest punch that'll knock you out. It's just the one you don't see that catches you on the button and you go dizzy. And I agree with Beech. Some people come back from that, can handle it more than others. Do you know what I mean? But a body shot, if you get it and you're not ready for it, and you can, it will paralyse you. But some people know how to carry on, because it automatically brings your arms in. And then, like you say, you want to go down, and you might have to go down, but then you've got to be able to get up and be able to keep out of the way for a while you come back. And like you say, Beech, different people can survive it better than others. Yeah.
What was your take on that low blow, Rob? Did you think it was legit?
I think it was legit, and it was on the ban for me. And every fight I've had, I've hit people on the ban. There's never been a problem. He did. Play for time, didn't he?
Yeah.
And that's what he did.
I agree with you, Beech.
Massive wrestler.
If it hadn't been in his own town with his own promoters and people like that, where you get that little bit extra, and the big
it was
fights.
like the Rocky film in there for him, because all of it was Usyk. There was no British supporters. Well, I don't think he was allowed because
Dubois, he's not really a household name yet, is he? You've got to remember, he's only a young kid. I'm sure he's got massive pedigree and potential to go. To have a really successful career now. I mean, he's fighting on the 5 versus 5, isn't he, with Eddie Hearn and Frank Walsh?
He's fighting Hergovich, he's my number 5 pick, by the way.
Oh, is it?
You never go.
We'll edit that back.
It's all right.
No. So I do think he's a young kid, and at the moment, we talk about heavyweight landscape. They're all quite.
When you say young, how old is he?
27. No, 27.
27.
Yeah, and Tyson won it at 21. Yeah. How old are you?
Oh well, yeah.
But in that game, you're not a young kid anymore.
No, exactly. I think
didn't he quite early, Tyson?
Tyson did, but like when you look at the other weights around, not just heavyweights, there's a lot of world champions at the 21, 22, 23. Yeah. So I don't think Dubois is a young heavyweight. He might be a late maturer.
I think.
He's quiet as well. He's not got the
showbiz, has
he? That's what he lacks with that as well.
He looks a nice lad, which you don't want to do as a heavyweight.
No, but I tell you, like his performance against Big Baby Miller, I thought that was a good. He'd come up third in the. I mean, not that I rate Big Baby.
I don't.
I think he's a good talker. Don't get me wrong. He's got that. Brooklyn, New York kind of. I
think he's fighting under Ruiz in a few weeks.
Is he,
yeah, definitely. I don't know what date it is, but it's definitely on that fight.
Ruiz he's on about coming back, is it?
Yeah.
Let's tell you what. Let's touch on Ruiz a little bit. We'll sidetrack. What's going on with him? I mean, he was up there with sort of one of the big contenders after the Joshua.
He's been out poorly, hasn't he? Been out poorly. No, he's been out for 2 years. Something wrong with him, hasn't there?
He's like a Paul Gascoigne in the background, and a lot of people know that. But he was on the Mexican team and pitted for gold for the Olympics. I don't know what year it was, and tested positive for cocaine. It's all there.
Okay.
So he's
a bit of a news article.
No, it's all there online.
I hope you're right. You're going to get sued, Beech.
No. He did. He wasn't allowed to.
By all accounts. What's that disclaimer that you have to say? Allegedly.
Allegedly. Whispers. No. It's all out there. And that's why he never went and fought for Mexico in the Olympics. But he's a very good fighter. Very underrated. I believe he should be a light heavyweight or a cruiserweight. He's fighting these big guys.
It just seems a bit, for me, it's a little bit lazy with him. He just doesn't seem to.
He's lost a lot of weight, hasn't he, for the last few fights?
Well, there was talks of him against Wilder, wasn't there? And that never materialised, did it? So it's kind of.
He wanted, he wanted £10 million for that fight. There was no titles involved. He's priced himself out of it, isn't it?
That's the thing, isn't it? Now,
placing, gents, like in Ruiz. I know we've got the top 5. Is he in the top 10 still?
I think he's over the crest of the wave. I just think he's not going to get back now.
I think he's one of them everyone's nightmare.
Yeah.
He's one of them fighters that if your manager's manager who needs him.
He needs him fight because he's going to
chin you. He's got a punch.
Oh yeah.
He's fast.
I remember seeing
the
post-fight press conference with Eddie Hearn, and Don King had phoned Eddie Hearn, because Joshua was fighting Baby Miller, and Don King had phoned Eddie Hearn, and it's there online, and he said, "Why are you fighting Andy Ruiz?" And he went, "No, because it's the next best alternative." And he went, "No, that boy can punch. I'm telling you, don't put him in with him." And then look what happened. He was right.
Fair play. To Joshua, isn't it? Don't to anyone. And I don't know.
Okay, so we'll have to go down a bit of an Andy Ruiz rabbit hole there, but we'll strip it back to Fury Usyk. Want to put your neutral heads on here, lads, so I will ask you who you're going to pick at the end. But let's go with the neutral. What are Fury's chances of winning this fight? We'll start with yourself, Rob.
Fury on the mental and the physical, there's two. I'm going to break it down into that. Mentally, Fury, for me, coming back from the adversity he did to turn Wilder over them 3 times, because he did win the first fight. For me, it was a draw, but he did win. To get off the floor, he always comes through in adverse times, Fury. So mentally, he's got the edge. Physically, he's too big for him. And now him looking athletic and trim, he's not going to wear him down by the look of it, because he's trained really hard. So
his conditioning's up to par.
His footwork's not going to be as fast as Usyk. I mean, he uses that in with the slower fighters. Tyson does, but the slower, the normal heavyweight, should we say? But he won't be able to use that against Usyk. But I think in physicalities, he's going to take it to him. I think he will take it to him. He knows he's got 12 rounds, and every round he's got to put it on him.
Do you think it's that age-old, a good big one beats a good little one scenario?
I think so in this fight. They're both great boxers, and both really intelligent, and so they're both going to be looking, if you watch it, to draw a lead, to throw a counter. So it's going to be a bit stalematy for me.
It's going to be a little bit of a, obviously boxing purists like yourselves, and I'm a massive fan of it. Do you think it's going to be a bit of a, for the sofa armchair fans, if you will, so it's going to be quite boring fights, because there's not going to be that much intensity? It's going to be a technical masterclass, would you say?
It's got every possibility.
It's
50-50. I'm trying to remember the last, what they call him, the little fella, what the bleeding hell's his name now? Money Mayweather against the Pacquiao. It were hyped up, and everyone's dying to see the fight, and it were a flop.
I can't even remember it. It was, I can remember the Hatton versus Mayweather better than that. That was a cracking fight, to be honest, till he got stopped. But I can't remember that. It was just rubbish. It wasn't good to watch. But they've got 2 fights. They're both set to make well over. Yeah. So why?
Say like round 4 or 5, they're feeling a little bit fatigued. If I don't win this, do you think that will crop up?
No, but you could potentially fight 2 different ways. Fury could say, well, first fight I'm going to try and outbox him. If that doesn't work, which and it's a boring points win or something like that, then I'm going to go into him in the second fight. Or I don't know. Tyson might just get into him.
My view on that is, if either of them fighters are just in there for the money, they're in the wrong place. They've lost.
Yeah,
it's got to be more than that. When you sat, I think
not money. The way that they approach the fight. That's what I said.
Do you think Fury's become like a bit of a? I suppose in this internet age, it's very much kind of like the way McGregor's gone at the moment with your MMA, Conor McGregor. It's very much kind of like he's his own brand, he's his own identity, and we're kind of separating the athlete, what he was very good at, to Conor McGregor. I think Tyson's maybe gone that way a little bit, where phenomenal boxer, but he's now become his own identity, and he's playing up to that a bit too much. What's your take on that?
I think you've got to be hungry, and if like I said before, if you're sleeping in silk sheets and silk pyjamas, you're not as hungry. And I think leading up to the last fight he proved that, because he didn't come in like he said he were going to do by any means. The other side of the coin is now I think he's a wounded animal, Fury, because he's had a lot of stick for that.
Do you say that
I think he's got everything to prove.
I think that's the best thing that could have ever happened to him.
I think now he knows he's going to go into this fight, big paydays, big showbiz sort of thing. He's going to go in there wanting to prove everyone.
And in the back of his head as well, we'll talk about Joshua again. he's seen Joshua wipe out Otto Wallin. He's seen him wipe out Nganou, and the two people that Tyson struggled with. So he's got that in the back of his head as well, hasn't it? Which is interesting.
Does styles make fights? Because did Joshua prefer better again? Not maybe not so much the Nganou one, but Wallin. Was Joshua just a better boxer against that style?
Always Wallin shot at that point.
Yeah, well, exactly.
And then Fury never trained. We know that Fury never trained for the Nganou. He did train a bit, but he's took it lightly, hasn't he?
Fury come in, believe it or not, I'm actually 6'2", 16 stone, I know I'm looking next to these two. But yourself, being a bigger guy, you need that conditioning, you need that extra work, and I just don't think Fury put it in.
No, he didn't. Not for that. His timing was so far off. He weren't just missing by inches. He was missing by that.
And he just did enough. He knew what to do because he's so clever. Yeah. He just did enough to get through that fight.
Knockdown, do you think that shook him a little bit? Do you think that maybe like...
Flash.
I think if it didn't, there'd be something wrong with you. You think I just can't walk through this fella like I thought I could.
I think it was a case of, because when I watched that fight back, he has that knockdown, and Fury's he don't want any of that heat. He doesn't want to get caught with one of them again. And he just does everything, he just relies on his boxing talent and his credentials.
Yeah, I think reality hits home, doesn't it? I should have trained harder. I should have took him more serious.
So, going back to the original question, Fog, and Beech obviously answered this, taking the neutral stance on things, what do you think Fury's got to do to win this fight?
Outbox a boxer. He can't just walk into him and lean on him. I don't think he'll get that opportunity with someone as talented as Usyk. I think he's got to go forward, because I don't think Usyk will fall into the trap of coming forward to him, because I think he's a lot better fighter on his back foot, Tyson, than he is coming forward. So if Tyson wants to win it, I think either of them, I don't think it's going to be a knockout fight.
No.
I think it's going to be a points decision.
Who do you think will... Because obviously they're both phenomenal boxers, they're both really skilled, they've got amazing ring IQs, arguably the two best ring IQs in the division at the moment. You could even translate that to other weight classes as well. If it goes to points, because I honestly think if you're... This is me sort of backtracking a little bit. I think if Fury wins, it needs to be a knockout. I think if it goes to points, Usyk's going to have the advantage.
I quite agree, and I don't think Tyson is a devastating knockout artist.
No, he's not. Yeah.
And I don't think he'll be able to land the punch on Usyk that he probably has landed on other people in the past. And I think... Do you think because Tyson's renowned for his feints and his ducking and what have you, do you think that's going to have any impact on Usyk at all? No, because I think he's better at it than Tyson like we've said earlier, just keeping on their toes away from him and keeping them working it while he's sort of there, not really doing keeping the pressure on.
The problem I see, if it's going to go to points, Usyk, with a lot of people, lets them start off, lets them fast. Tony Bellew, let him go fast. He
lets them start.
And he lets you work, and he just keeps you there, and he's just doing enough, but he's not winning the rounds. Then when he wants to, 5 or 6, he puts his foot down, and he's like, "You've spent then," and you're like, "Wow, this guy's got another gear."
And I think Tyson's obviously a smart fighter.
He won't do that.
I'll ask you both a question here. Back in your prime, and obviously it's different sort of divisions, what have you. I just think you'd feel against someone like a Usyk type fighter. No. Just strip it back to like when you was back in your prime and stuff. You don't need to sell yourself short.
No, but he's just a masterclass, isn't he? I'd love to. But then in the back of my head I'd go, well, I wish it was an MMA fight, because I'll just take you down and break your arm. Because I'm not going to stand with someone like him. He'll just ping your head off. I wouldn't be scared about him as in like a devastating punch, because I don't. He'd make a show of you. He would want someone like that would make an absolute show of you.
What about yourself, Folk? How do you think you'd fare against not necessarily Usyk, but someone like that?
Both of them. Yeah. I'd knock them spark out.
Same ring, same night.
And it's the craziest.
And then John Fury after.
Yeah, Big John. It's the craziest thing in the world, isn't it? Because who in their right mind wants to be a professional boxer?
listen, I mean, as
I don't know why I did it.
I'd take the hat off. Anyone who gets in that ring, automatic, whether I like you or I don't, outside of it, you earn my respect.
Yeah, exact same with me. But the belief system is, if you don't believe you can beat them, well, you're definitely in the wrong place. Yeah. Now these, it's like I can't compare my career with Usyk like I say, my biggest fight were a British title eliminator. Do you know what I mean? This is a man.
John Fury, knocking John Fury.
I beat him. I beat John on points, like and I take my hat off to John because I caught him with a right hand that should have put him to sleep really, and he would back up, and he was more annoyed than before he went down. So I have a lot of respect for John.
John has a losing record, but let's have it right. He got him with Akinwande, and
Akinwande really that tough. Split there.
He's really tough. He's a monster. He's about 6'7",
world champion.
He's 6'7" or something. Yeah. He's a monster.
So going back to again neutral heads in a moment, Rob, I'll start with you on this one, mate. What's Usyk's chances of winning this fight? What's he got to do to get the win?
He's got to keep Tyson busy, draw him onto shots, and then counter. Can he do that, and can he wear Tyson down? I don't think he can. From looking at Fury and the way he is.
Do you think he's going to tire? Do you think it's
no, nothing. They're too professional. The approach. I mean, I was watching something the other day on Usyk, and he's done three camps for this fight. Now I know he could probably get worn out by that, but they're not stupid. They'll have had the breaks and when to ramp it up and when to come down. So he's super fit.
And let's face it,
he'd probably do 15 rounds.
He's not a fighter that, like Ricky Hatton, blows up and comes back down. He's just consistently fit, super professional, like you say.
I mean, it is going to be one of those fights where it's pure boxing talent against pure boxing talent. I have to throw this in there. We touched on it a little bit earlier before we get your take on Usyk's chances. Bob. The cut, is that going to? It's opened up a few times for Tyson. Is that going to be?
Is it the same eye though that it opened up with Otto Wallen?
I don't know. We'll get a disclaimer on that. I'm not sure if it is, but he's prone to cutting, he's prone to bleeding, and obviously too much blood that can stoppage, instant win to Usyk. Do you think that's going to play a factor, or do you just not see that?
There's so many outcomes, isn't there? That's why it's such an exciting fight. Who's going to outbox who? Is either one going to knock each other out? Because I don't think really either of them are big knockout artists.
No, and I think to be honest, and from what I've seen with Usyk before, like you did with the first Anthony Joshua fight, he has got the discipline. He says, he might get you going, but he won't try and finish you because he's more interested on winning with the points. I think he's just that type of fighter.
Well, Tony Bellew said, didn't he? He said for every punch he threw, Usyk landed about 5. For picking up the points.
And Tony was a tough fighter, weren't he?
Did he say that though? Because we're watching the fight odds, and Tony Bellew was winning that fight up until round 4-5.
It was quality when he was in the.
But he'd had the volume he'd had to outlay was just too much. He said he was sat in the corner, and Dave Caldwell was in his corner, and he went, "Why are you so tired? What's going on here?" And he said, "I don't know. I'm just effed," and
that's another thing, isn't it? Like the occasion sort of thing. A lot of people that fought Tyson were tired and scared before. I'm not saying Tony was scared, but the big occasion, the big night, and all of a sudden you're with someone who say, "Is it in your 5 times to your once?" That can surely take the
people just say there's the fight at hand in front. There's not. There's a few fights on that night. There's the training camp, the diet, the occasion, the opponents, the fans. There's a few different fights on that one night that people just see the fight.
Do you think because obviously it's contested in Saudi, this one, and they're not the most lively of crowds, are they? It might be compare it to like a Wembley boxing fight, the crowd's going to be feeding into you. It's very tame, very placid. Who do you think that favours in that environment?
I don't think it favours.
You don't really listen, do you, Fog, when you're in there? No, I don't.
Especially, I don't think they'll have time, obviously, to even acknowledge him. But saying that, going back, like I said before about Tyson, I thought the last occasion got to him a bit because of all the names that were there, the people that were there, and he knew in his mind he hadn't trained for it. you know, and all of a sudden it's there, and it's a big occasion, isn't it, when all your heroes are sat round the ring watching you.
He keeps saying that he's trained well, he does. Well, I think it's a bit of... He's got to do because...
You said before, the scales don't lie.
Yeah. He's got to keep saying that because...
He can't say I've not even been in the gym for this one.
He's been paid tens of millions of pounds. He's got to say he trains. You know.
I'm going to ask you that question though, Fog. So what do you think, neutral head on here, what do you think what's Usyk got to do to win this fight?
I think, like we did with Joshua, stay on him, keep him working, you know, and outbox him. Just, it's I can't work it out in my own head really, because two boxers, I think Tyson fights better on his back foot when people are coming looking for him. So if Usyk doesn't go looking for him and he has to come looking for Usyk, who does it favour? And that's what's so exciting about it, is who knows what he has to do.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Does he go full Derek Chisora mode though, and just come out? Because he knows he's trained and he looks in massively impressive condition. Does he go out from that first second and just throw it into him and turn it into a dogfight? That could happen.
I think he's giving everything. Oh, Tyson.
Yeah,
Tyson.
And then it just changes the full dynamic.
But I think Usk's too good a boxer for him to do that.
Yeah.
You know,
but you know, little things like favour that type of fight. A smaller ring, a bigger ring. A bigger ring is the for Usyk, that would suit him.
And what is the ring size?
I don't know. We don't. You know, if it's a small ring, it's fighting in a male telephone box. They say, and it's game on.
Well, that'll all be in the contract, won't it? But the thing is, the last ring when he fought at Wembley were quite a big ring, didn't it? It's how you know.
But he like that though, because he's against Fury, he's against White, or he's against Chisora.
So he's got room to dance around.
In my opinion, that Wembley fight, Dillian Whyte lost that the second he got in that ring, because there was not, that'd be few and far to find any fans that were there for supporting White. It was pure. I know we said you don't know zone in, but if you've got 94,000 screaming your name, that is going to help in any capacity, in any sport. You know.
Yeah, it's one. I think, you know, it's. I don't. You know, you're too concentrated if you're right doing your job. But I suppose that's half of being what Tyson is about, and Muhammad Ali. They could do it. They can do it on the night. They can rise to that occasion. Usyk, we said before, didn't we? Both agreed that he sits on people. Yeah. He makes them work when he's not working, and I think he's got to do that with Tyson.
Yeah,
if he can.
It's an hard because
it's a hard one to predict, and that's obviously why we're here.
But he's been sparring. I've been looking at the sparring partners. I've not got any names. I can't remember them. There's an Uzbekistan Javalov or something like that, and he's got 14 fights, 14 knockouts, and he's one of my picks for the future. Serious, but this guy's 6'6", and he's dangerous, and he's been in his camp all the way through. He's not, you know, so he's not cutting corners. So he knows how to deal with tall people. So it's one of them.
It's got to be one that we can just sit back and enjoy this.
You said something earlier about his amateur career. Usk's been fighting from a kid. You know, if there's something that he ain't learned in that boxing ring, you'd be surprised, wouldn't you?
In his amateur career, I looked at it, he's won titles at heavyweight, middleweight, then gone to light heavyweight, then gone back up to heavyweight from middleweight, and this has happened from 2004 all the way up to 2012. That's been going on.
Lads, I generally don't know this. Obviously for Usyk, who's a natural cruiserweight, for him to maintain that weight at heavyweight, because when you're training, you generally strip back to your natural size. Is that difficult to maintain that, to go up a division?
Well, I've never had to do it, obviously. I don't think...
I was trying to make cruiser when I was a pro boxer, because they brought a new weight out now called Bridgerweight, which is about 16 stone. I was never a big heavyweight when I was a boxer. But then
Bellew's cruiserweight, isn't he? I know you got him.
No, he was light. He was a lighter. Well, when we fought in the amateurs, it was a cruiserweight fight. It was 13 stone. I think it was down as an heavyweight because of super heavyweight. And anyway, whatever. It just. But yeah,
But like I said before, I don't see him as a small heavyweight. If he's going
6'3", isn't he?
He's 6'3". I mean. It's just like he's an extra big heavyweight, isn't he, Tyson?
So I suppose it's come to the penultimate question, guys. You don't have to put your neutral heads on now. We'll start with you, Rob. How's this fight going for you?
Tyson win.
What, any particular round or?
I don't know what will go on. It's like what Tyson Fury turns up on the night. That's you can never know what's going to happen with him.
Yeah.
So it's either going to be Tyson all-out war, drag him into the trenches and stop him late on, or it's going to be a chess match, which won't be that good to watch, but it will be for me.
Or yourself, Adam? How do you see this fight going?
It's close, very close, but I think I don't know why. I feel Usyk is going to outbox him. I think his attitude, his mental attitude, he's been waiting for this for a long time, and I think he'll beat him on points. I don't think it'll be a stoppage either way.
Do you think it'll be, like Rob said, a chess match in some capacity?
Yeah. I think it's the one where we find out, obviously, just who the best heavyweight at the moment is.
It'd be an amazing feat for Usyk to do that. What he's done is go up and then he's unified in Cruiserweight. His amateur career, then he's done it at heavyweight against all massive guys. He's going to go down as one of the all-time greats ever.
Oh yeah, massive. Definitely this generation. I think whoever wins this, they've cemented the legacy.
Well, the legacies are already cemented out there. You can't put one fight down to someone's legacy.
Because as well, what we've not really touched on, they're both undefeated. I know Fury's got a draw on his record with the Wilder, but I think we can all mutually agree he definitely won that fight. So I mean, it's not someone's always got to go, but certainly someone's going to have come away from it with a loss. Well, it could go a draw, couldn't it? But I don't think they will on a unification title fight. I mean,
the promoters will if they get if they've already got part two lined up.
I think my sort of prediction, I've got two on the fence and all, but like yourself, Fog, I think if it goes to a point, as much as it pains me to say this because I'm a massive Fury fan, I think Usyk wins it if it goes to points, just because I think he can land more on Fury than Fury can him. However, the gut feeling and what I'll take as my prediction is I think Fury's going to win it by a knockout, and I think it's going to be one of the later rounds, probably 9-10 onwards kind of thing. That's my prediction.
And you couldn't argue with any of it. I couldn't argue with your prediction or yours, and I'm not that confident on my own. It's just such an exciting fight, isn't it?
They both had really good sparring from what I've had a look. Tyson's had Jay Patel, which he's a world-class operator at Cruiserweight, and I don't know if he's left-handed, but he'll have had like left-handers, like southpaws in camp. So they've
and the other side,
it's not like they're going to face something new. They know what's coming.
Yeah, exactly. The other side of it is we know both of them can handle the big occasion. No one's going to crumble on the way to the ring or out-talk each other or win in a press conference. They're both warriors.
I think Tyson Fury's give up trying to get in Usyk's head because I think the language barrier stops it as well.
And I think that's what I'm bored with.
Yeah,
there's always so much talk.
It is because it's very much like Fury. He got away with it because he backed it up. Well, he's not really backed it up for a while, has he? I know he beat White and Chisora, but he come away with the win. Some would argue he lost with Nganou, but I personally thought he won on points anyway. It was just a lacklustre performance. And now you've got to walk the walk, Tyson. You can do it. You can rise to the occasion.
That's the interesting thing, isn't it? Can he still do it? As like you said earlier, the money and the lifestyle got to him and started affecting which I can't blame him if it has.
So we'll quickly wrap up on this last question, and I'll just ask you kind of like your overview, but if you could just say one word to describe this fight, what your expectations are, what would it be, Rob?
Interesting.
Fun.
Yeah. That was one I was going to use.
So we'll all go with interesting as well. Well, listen, gents, it's been an absolute pleasure hosting you.
That's one word. A betting nightmare.
Thanks for your time today. Obviously, we've had.
Thanks for having us. Yeah,
Rob thank
Beech,
you.
Adam Fogerty, I'm Daniel Hodges, and you've been listening to Hodge-Cast podcast. Take it easy. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we believe you can definitely take something away from today's guest. We couldn't attract guests such as this without a solid fan base. The best way we can grow the show is through subscriptions. So, if you haven't done so already, can I please ask you hit that subscribe button and help us continue to put out content for you all to enjoy. Until next time, stay blessed.